Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another installment of Dear Deja, and also welcome back to the Operation Hill 100 Hearts channel where we focus on healing, humor, and hot topics. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a new subscriber, please hit the subscribe button and welcome, welcome, welcome. Also, hit the thumbs up. Go hit the thumbs up right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the free way to support my channel and get me in the algorithm is for you to hit the thumbs up on my video. So please don't forget to do so while you're here. Also, do me your due diligence of sticking around because I want to hear your response to this Dear Deja letter after I give my commentary. So please don't forget to drop down in the comments and let me know what you think of my feedback. If you agree, disagree, let's talk about it, okay? We're all open to discussions. I don't delete or debate. Okay. Let me put my glasses on because y'all know what 40 plus will do for you. Okay. Dear Deja, I'm a 31-year-old that fell on hard times that had to come back and stay with my dad. He hasn't really been the best father in the world, but I know I can always call on him. I've been here for a year and a half and things have been cool. Last month, my dad announced that my uncle, who has been incarcerated most of my life, is finally being released from prison. I've been to see him once or twice when I was little, but other than that, we have no real relationship. He's been here 9 days, and from the first day, it's been weird. I'm a woman of a certain stature, which I'm very aware of, so I try to stay covered up for the most part because I'm living with two grown men. The first 2 days of him being here, he kept reminding me that I'm built just like my mother when she was younger. He's been giving me weird compliments like my legs look very toned and how well proportioned I am for my height, just being a weirdo. The other day, when I got out the shower and went into my room to get dressed, 90 seconds later, he was knocking at my door. And when I said, just a minute, he acted as if he thought I said, come in, and walked in while I was still undressed. He gave a 10-second dead stare instead of immediately turning around once he saw I wasn't dressed. He started to make me feel uncomfortable, but my dad is so happy to have his only brother here with him that I'm a little apprehensive about sharing this with him, how uncomfortable I'm starting to feel. I know you're good at helping people with these type of things, so I'm reaching out to you. Please help. I'm uncomfortable living with my uncle. So y'all mean to tell me I'm the only one with a ghetto mailman that has his phone on speaker all the time, and he's recanting his night before antics and slamming the mailboxes as if he's going to break them. I cannot be the only one this ish happens to. Anywho, back to Dear DJ. The ghetto. Anywho, all right. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Okay. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. I do love that you said, because I am a woman of a certain stature, I try to make sure that I'm covered up because I'm living with two grown men. Right? Yeah, we are in the world of folks who are so inappropriate that hearing this dialogue from a young adult about how inappropriate they're being even around family members is a relief, right? I have to say that. Welcome home to your uncle. Praise God for surviving a tumultuous situation and now being home free and able to do his one too, right? Uh the long and the short of it is I think you need to talk to your dad. I think you need to talk to your dad. Right? And the reason why I'm saying that I think you need to talk to your dad is because let's just say you say, you know what, I don't even want to cause an issue and I'm just going to find me a place tomorrow. And that's what you do. You're still going to feel uncomfortable with your uncle because these behaviors have not been addressed. And they can't really be addressed until you share with your dad. Because what can happen too is when you go to try to address the situation, because you're uncomfortable with it, your approach could be a little off. And because he is your uncle, I could see him trying to turn this into what could look like disrespect. Right? So it's like, okay, well, you came to say something to me about something that I know that I'm doing is wrong. if he knows, because that's another conversation to be had that we'll try to have within this letter. But you're coming to confront and or address me about something that I'm doing that you don't like, but I like it, right? Because that's the reason I'm doing it. So I may try to turn your I may try to turn this around until you're disrespecting me. And then, you guys are both going to have to go to your dad with what's being presented, and he has to either, pick a side in that moment. Right? But I think if you head it off at the pass and you share it with your dad and either A, have him address it, or B, at least he's aware that you're going to address it, that might make the situation between you and your dad a little bit more smoother. Again, I don't know your family. I don't know you, I think. Right? So I can't say because I don't know the people's personality. If I knew their personality or you got a little bit more descriptive in your letter about their personalities, then I could probably gauge that a little better. So this right here is just some general advice that I'm giving you, right? That some logical advice that would make sense, right? Is maybe, initially you might need to go to dad. You might need to go to dad. I have to ask, and this is not to be offensive, but I have to ask, are there any mental health issues that you're aware of? And I have to ask, right? In all fairness, I have to ask because, do you know that what you're doing is wrong? Right? Also, this person sounds like you're 31 from what you described in the letter. And this person has been incarcerated for most of your life from what you said. So I'll even give or take say he was incarcerated the last 20 years. He may be in a headspace of who he was 20 years ago, and I can't really explain. I can't really explain because in an effort to try to explain, I feel like a part of me is going to be justifying some of his behaviors, and I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that because I don't like any older man being weird with any young girls, relative or not. So I don't want to give any of his behaviors any justification, but I'm just trying to give you, so to speak, a space to address this that doesn't make it so harmful, right? Because, like if he was a stranger in the street being weird to you, you'd be like, I'm gonna get my father to fuck you up. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, because you don't really know him like that, he could be like a stranger to you, even though he's a blood relative. So the mindset could go to, I'm gonna get my father to fuck you up, right? And that's harmful. That's harmful because that's your uncle. That is a blood relative. But, the human, remember I told you guys about the human in me? Right? The human in me would have made the motherfucking uncle feel uncomfortable living with me. Don't play with me. Okay? Okay. But the healer in me, doesn't want to see a family fall apart because of a situation that can be addressed and hopefully, eliminated. Right? So, in my opinion, you need to go to that. You need to go to that. You need to go to that. And you need to go to that very specific. Because what I'm learning about men as I get older and older and older and older and older, and it could be two things happening. Either one, I'm just getting even more emotional than I ever was, which I don't even think that's possible because I'm one of the most emotional people on the planet, right? Or I'm just learning at this age how nonchalant men can be. So a lot of times what I see men do is when you share something with them, they will automatically think that you're overreacting. Right? And you looking at them like, bitch. Will I be overreacting when I put this fucking knife in your chest? You know what I'm saying? Like, they will tend to feel that way. So I think that you have to be very specific with what you go to your dad with, what he did, and how you felt. Right? Because, again, I'm not saying your dad would allow you to be mistreated, but he might feel like, well, I know my brother. He's not like that, and he didn't mean any harm, and yada yada yada. And you might be taking it a little too. No, 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 baby, no, no. It meant something to me, Dad. It meant something to me. It meant something to me. It offended me. It offended me. It made me uncomfortable, according to your letter. And if it made me uncomfortable as my father, you should be uncomfortable as well. As a matter of fact, you should be 3 times more uncomfortable than I am because I'm your daughter. But he may feel, because it's his brother, I don't know. I don't know these people personally. I didn't get much about their personalities. I'm just giving you some examples so you could be prepared, right? He may feel like, but that's my brother. Okay, so what I will say is this. I think when you go to dad, you need to go to dad with specifics about what was done and how it made you feel. And also, I'll take it a step further. I'm this dramatic. I go with what could take place moving forward. And the person is looking at me like, bitch, you see the future? Like, well, Miss Cleo, what are you talking? And I'm like, no, 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 I don't know that for sure, but I'm just giving you about the behaviors that have taken place thus far. I'm giving you some examples of where my mind thinking it's going to go, right? And again, I think once you share with your dad the specifics, he will know how important it is to you. And I think in all fairness, if it's important to you, he should make it important to him. He should make it important to him because he is your dad. And I don't care how old you are. To my knowledge, and parents drop in the chat and let me know if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, parents are supposed to protect you. My dad told me that endlessly, right? Hence one of the reasons I was so heartbroken with his passing, and hence the reason that I fell in love with the man I fell in love with, because I require protection. I require protection. Right? And one of the things that my dad did was he protected me. He protected me. And that's what my Pookie does. Shout out to my Pookie. He's very, very protective. I love that about him. Right? Even his dad, Papa Mo, even his Uncle Donnie, have some really, really protective in-laws and a boyfriend. I can appreciate that. Right? But anywho, like I was saying, he is supposed to protect you. And in these moments, it feels like you're feeling unprotected right under his nose. A question I do have is, where is dad when these comments are happening, like are being said? Like, is he present? Is he laughing with your uncle because he thinks it's a joke? Is the uncle making sure to not say them in front of your dad? Like, how is that going? Because that's another piece of information that you can give him that might help you, which is if he's making it his business to say these comments when your dad is not around, why? Why? If your dad knows your uncle as well as he thinks he knows your uncle, and your uncle is being harmless and that's just his personality, why is he hiding that part of his personality from his brother? So, I mean, if that's the case, you go to your dad with that too. Like, a lot of these comments are setting your absence. I feel like he knows he's making me uncomfortable. I feel like his intention is to be inappropriate. Right? So that's something you could use. Another thing you could use is, let's just say he does say it in front of dad, and dad kind of laughs it off, assuming that it's his personality. Then you can confront dad as well. Like, in those moments when he's making these inappropriate comments and statements, I don't feel protected, and I feel like you're sitting here watching me, and not, so you're sitting here watching the situation and not protecting me. And it's a lot of places I could go with this, because one of the things that you did say was like, oh, he hasn't been the best. So I wonder if that means, if he hasn't been the best dad, I wonder if that means he hasn't been around. Because another thing is too, from what I know from being an aunt, right? I can sense when my nieces and nephews are uncomfortable. I could tell by the body language. I could tell by the look on the face. I can assess when they're uncomfortable. So I'm pretty sure as a parent, you can assess, like, looking at your kid or seeing what behaviors they might do after something is said, if they like something or if they didn't. So I'm wondering if he wasn't around much, maybe he can't assess that in those moments you're uncomfortable about what your uncle is saying. Which is another conversation to have, because it's like, you're my dad. You should know me a little better. But the other part of that is, you said you guys have been living together for some time now, maybe over a year, something like that. So he hasn't gotten to know you enough at this point to know that? So these are all questions that you can go to dad with. along with, some of your facts that you stated here, because this has to be laid out on the table, especially. It just has to be. It just has to be. I'm not even going to say, especially if you want to continue living in the household, because at the end of the day, that's still your uncle. So even if you're not living there, you're still going to have to engage him no matter what. Right? I don't know, if it will ever go back to being the same between, or go, I don't know if it will ever be a normal relationship between you two, because I don't know how you could forget that your uncle used to like you and flirt with you. Like, I don't know if that could happen, right? Hopefully, who knows, right? But I at least want you to have the opportunity to be cordial with your uncle, and be able to see him at a family barbecue and be his space partner. You know what I'm saying? So I would love for that to happen. So in order for that to happen, sweetie, you need to go to dad. You don't need to pass go. You don't need to collect $200. You need to go directly to dad. You need to go to dad. You need to go to dad. And you need to go to dad with some honest conversation about what's taking place, the way it made you feel, and what is next steps. Because, all right, now I got to play devil's advocate here. Hold on. Let me ask, do you want your uncle put out? Do you want your uncle told to stop? Do you want an apology? What would you like for your dad to do? Also, are you prepared for your dad to say something like, "Well, if you're not happy here, then you could go"? Are you prepared to get put out? What would a relationship look like if your dad does choose his brother over you? You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I'm asking these questions is because I'm also in the same breath telling you to speak to your dad, but I also want to prep you, because there can be some things that come from this after the conversation, should you choose to go have it. And I would like for you to be prepared. So the questions I just asked, is that something that, are those some things that you're prepared to handle? So meaning, are you prepared for your father to beat the shit out your uncle and put him out? Are you prepared for your father to jokingly laugh it off? Are you prepared to confront your dad about some of his behaviors within this whole situation, if there are any? Are you prepared to get told, listen, this might not work out for you. You grown, you need to find a place, because I need my brother to be here getting back on his feet. I don't know. I don't know your family like that. So again, these are just some of the things, general things that I'm thinking that could take place. And I want you to be prepared, because normally when we're prepared for things, we know how to approach them. So let's just say you're already prepared in your mind for him to be like, you know what, you might not even be able to, you might not be able to stay here no more. You grown now. Saladin, I ready to save my money up. No worries, you ain't got to repeat that. I'm off that. I found me a place. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So do I want that for you? No, no. I want everybody to be able to kind of smooth this situation out and move forward. But again, sometimes things could get rocky and you need to be prepared for the bumps. And I'm also saying that because I wonder how much you prepared for the other bumps that had you fall on hard times to be back here with that. But that's a separate Healing Hearts letter. Okay, so my one and only numero uno is that you need to talk to dad. But you need to talk to dad, prepare from all angles about what his feedback might look like towards you. And when you're prepared for whatever he might say, then you know what to do after he says it. Number one on the list, when you go to dad, my dear, state facts. State facts. Don't state anything that you assume initially, right? You wait to after you have stated the facts. But when you go to dad, you state facts. State facts. State facts. Because what I know is that sometimes men will act like, oh, you looking too deep into this and you overreacted. No, no, no. The fact is, he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That there's no way for me to overreact over things that he really did. And you can't tell me how to feel about something that happened to me. The only thing you should try to do is prevent it from happening, dad. Right? So, my dear, I think you should speak to dad about it. I think you should be factual in your approach. And, I think you should wait to see what his rebuttal is going to be. And then after, I think you guys need to come get your healing heart session. I think you may need to send your uncle for a healing heart session. Maybe you guys need to go as daughter and dad for a healing heart session. Maybe dad needs to come along to figure out how he's going to navigate this whole thing between his brother and his daughter. But something needs to take place because you never know how bad situations can get. God forbid, but what if one time your uncle tries to hurt you? What if in an effort, what if in one of his efforts to be flirtatious, you try to hurt him? You know? And again, you know what that sounds like? A woman overreacting, but that's where my thoughts will go, and that's what I would share with dad so he can know how serious I am about what I feel. I'm uncomfortable. And it's not fair for my dad to be on this planet and to allow another man to make me uncomfortable. But it's definitely not fair for my dad to let another man make me uncomfortable under his own roof. You get where I'm coming from? So, my dear, it is a lot, but I don't have a lot of feedback to give other than those two things, which is you need to say something to dad about what's taking place, and I think you need to state all the facts. All the facts. Don't leave anything out. Because if you want him to be clear on what you feel, you may have to go into an explanation about why you're feeling that way. Tell him everything. Tell him everything. Tell him everything that was done, the way it felt when it happened. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn if you have to sit down right now and write it all down so you don't forget. You need to be able to share with dad truthfully and wholeheartedly. Also, I pray you come to get your Operation Hill 100 Heart session so we can talk about what it looks like, what his rebuttal could look like and what your response could be so everybody can be conducive in this situation. If you need to move, that's a conversation that we need to have. Did my dad choose his brother over me? Is that something that I can sit with? You know what I'm saying? So these are all conversations that need to get had in the Healing Heart session. For your dad, he has a decision to make. He can try to come between it and provide a resolution and kind of mediate you too. He could ask one of you to leave. He could ask both of you to leave. Either way, that's not what. Now, I have some of the most gracious neighbors, so I appreciate my Uncle Wally coming to give me one of my much-needed packages. He didn't even know I was recording, but God bless his soul, because I couldn't miss that package. Y'all don't judge me. Shout out to my Uncle Wally and my Aunt Colleen. All right, back to the Dear DJ. This is ghetto, but I'm not taking this out. Anywho, my dear, you need to be really, really, really super duper ready for whatever dad's rebuttal is so you can be prepared for next steps. My dear, I'm praying. Because this is very sticky. I'm praying for your uncle and his mental health, right? Because if this is taking place with a blood relative, what could be taking place in the streets with people that you don't know but you find attractive? Are you inappropriate with them as well? So I'm praying for your uncle's mental health. I'm praying for your dad because this is a very, very sticky situation. And I know he wants to protect all parties involved without having to feel like he's taking sides. But, it may come to that. And I'm also praying for you. I'm praying for you that you will get the protection that you need to move forward without it having to escalate to something totally different. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get down in the comments and let's talk about this. Let's have a family discussion. You know what I'm saying? We all family here. All my subscribers is my family, right? That's why I come to y'all. But let's get down in the chat and let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about what you would do. Let's talk about what all of you would do from every angle. If you were the uncle, if you were the dad, if you were the daughter. You know what I'm saying? Also, let me know if I was able to land a plane with some of the feedback I gave. Let me know if you disagreed. Let's get down in the chat and really, really discuss this. Please hit the thumbs up on this video, ladies and gentlemen. Please, 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 please. If you are new here, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. I love you guys. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you soon.